Well, where's this edit button? This is probably going to transition really bad, but here we go. Yep, transition definitely transition bad. Let me pop this out. There's Discord. That's why. Pop out. Now, that's your show. All right, cool. So here's the podcast. Welcome, welcome. Episode number 1 of Working Title Podcast. Still haven't come up with a title yet, but we'll make it happen sometime soon. So I guess let's start with introductions. I'm Pocky. I like playing Final Fantasy 14 and getting mad at the game, and trying to find an MMO that I somewhat enjoy playing without quitting it after 20 hours of getting bored. Yo, man. All these MMOs that are coming out, fucking dog shit, dude. I don't know why they released PSO2 like that. But it feels like there's not enough to do. But we're getting to that later. Yeah, so haven't really found an MMO to play. Started getting back into Dead or Alive 6 and now Virtua Fighter that I dropped. Tried to play Street Fighter. Almost rage quit. So yeah, that's it. So who's next? Something like that. Final Fantasy 14. That's what. Wait, hold on. You can't hear the others. They can't apparently hear you. Oh man, I am
Yeah,
so sorry. I had
come on, host. Hurry up, host. What are you doing?
when I muted the audio, I had the desktop audio muted like a clown.
He's doing a great job.
This guy right here, man.
Yo, shout outs to people in the chat. Let me know, dude.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, learn how to use Discord, bro.
No, that wasn't Discord. That was OBS.
Why? Let's see, can everybody hear me now? That's the question.
Yep.
Everybody's good? All right, cool.
So we gotta do it start over again? Yeah, let's do
Well,
it.
No, not me.
I'll
Just
give you-
Hero.
I'll give you the talking points. I'm basically saying, Pokey fucked up. Pokey bonded with me on hatred. Been playing video games forever, and he fucked up the whole connection between all of us. So good job, Pokey.
He's trying, man. He's trying.
I told you, there's no leeway with me, baby. And I'm the type of guy, I don't let anybody forget their fuck ups. I just don't. I just ram it in forever. I was like, remember that one time when you fucked up? Remember that? Yeah, don't do that again.
All right. Well, who wants to go next?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Saint Weaver. Don't know. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Passing acquaintance of Hero, and I know Pokey pretty well. But to remind you, Hero, the first time I met you, you were, I think you were on some sort of angry, savage raid type of stuff in Final Fantasy 14. and I said, you know what? I'm going to sit down and watch him because this man's kind of entertaining right now.
I just love hate. Like I love hating. I love hating things.
Like I specifically remember it being like E2S, but moving on. I am also an avid MMO player, RPG player, game player of platformers and all types of stuff. Also in 14, but I uh, I decided, and I don't know where the idea came from to start a YouTube channel, but I did, and I thought it would have been a good idea to like do the hardest thing, and that is to categorically talk about the lore in a complex MMO of Final Fantasy 11, which is nearly 20 years old. I thought I could do it, but it did turn out all that well. So I turned to something easier, and that was Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. I got a couple questions for you, Lord Boy. Because there's a lot of MSQ that I don't know. I just skipped. I don't. Why are we doing this? Who are we fighting? Who's the bad guy again?
To save the world. That's what we're doing.
To save the world. First, it was about a crystal. Then the crystal went away, and then we're just fighting things. I don't get it.
Right? I'm also into fighting games quite heavily. Um, I just don't know why I can't get into Street Fighter 5 as well as I like. I I swear that I could play that game. Well, because like it's actually slower. I don't know I don't know what everybody else is talking about. I think Street Fighter 5 is actually slower. It's not Third Strike, and Third Strike is just like the best fighting game of all time.
Third Strike is awesome.
Right. Right now I'm trying to practice up a Guilty Gear Strive since that just came out. So it's gonna be harder because I broke my fight stick one day. I may have been like enraged one day, but we'll talk about that another time.
Pokey, you should have cued in the morning song for his fight stick. Where's your soundboard, man?
This is last minute, dude. I was working all day. I'll have more stuff like fully ready to go
I need a sad music.
next week.
I need a happy music. I need a crash car sound when somebody says something that doesn't make sense. I mean, you got to get on that, man. Trying to spice things up. We got to put seasoning in this.
Oh my god! If anybody can recommend me a good fight stick, I'm all for it. Cause mine was like old as shit anyway.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we can go on Amazon for that.
Last but not least, this is Raina. A little bit about me. I am the head TO of a couple fighting game tournaments. Ironically, I don't play competitively. Y'all kind of took the fun out of fighting games for me. I've been playing video games since I was literally a toddler. One of my first video games was Sesame Street on a Sony, no, not Sony, it was a Philips CDI
Oh wow.
in early 90s.
Okay.
So I had my first two games were Space Ace and Sesame Street.
Oh, what's up,
remember
Space Ace?
Wow.
Yes, if
I
that
remember
tells
Space
you
Ace, dude.
anything about like how I got my gaming started. I played Mortal Kombat since the first one. I played Street Fighter. I played
Okay.
like my main character as a kid was Blanca. It's like so green, one, favorite color. Two, oh my god, he jumps on people and bites them and then he turns into electricity. I love this character. I'm going to spam this until you hate me. Sindel. Oh, you telling me I get to whip people with my hair and scream at them? Yes, like I felt something for all of the characters that I played, and it wasn't until around like 2011, 2012 when an ex of mine who was already in the community who was like, "Yo, you should come out and like support me," and I was like, "Cool." Went to hang out with him and I fell in love with the FTC and I've been here ever since. And that's kind of how I ended up meeting most of the people that are here, as well as people who are in the chat, is because the fighting game community and the gaming community period, because I've worked in conventions and worked for several other companies and bringing video gaming and engagement. A lot of the relationships and friendships that have come along the way internationally, like I have friends all over this country as well as across the pond in Mexico and Japan. Like, video games have been something that previous generations didn't really understand, but it's something that not only brings people together, it gives me a paycheck. So I
Nice.
love the fact that video games have brought us here. And my parents didn't understand it until I came home with $1,000 check one day, and they were like, "Oh, okay, video games sounds good. Let's go."
See,
That's
money is
what's
the
up right there.
see, money is the great equalizer, huh?
Exactly. But I while I'm usually working with like competitive scenes, especially the fighting game scene is definitely the most hyped scene that I've worked with. Like, I will always and forever love the fighting game community. Yes, baby. I so what you heard in the background is my 3-year-old son. My son has probably been to more tournaments at 3 years old than a lot of people who are gonna listen to this. I've literally worked at the tournaments while I was pregnant, and then once he was born, I brought him to every tournament.
Look, he's like a pure bred gamer, man. And that's
Exactly.
crazy. That's
He
crazy that we can say that now, right?
right.
Like we used to live we used to live like cavemen. And now it's
Son
such a
already has a Switch. He has his
yeah,
own Switch, and I have mine.
that's awesome, man. That kind of chokes me up a little bit because everybody did gaming in their homes and you just didn't growing up, you just didn't know who was into that sort of stuff. It was kind of like something you did privately, and now it's worldwide. It's everybody does it. Everybody knows what a PlayStation or an Xbox or a Nintendo is.
Oh yeah, that's one of the beauties of kind of us growing up within the boom of the video gaming industry, because a lot of people will not understand is that video gaming has transcended what they essentially wanted it to be at first. And now people will always they're gonna debate me on this one, but women are the biggest consumers of video games right now.
Oh,
So
really?
Oh, I didn't
yeah.
even. Yeah, you're gonna have to tell me all about that.
Yeah, we're gonna. I would love to see the numbers. I want to see the numbers. And by the way, I'm happy about that in particular because again, there was always this divide, and I don't know if it was because we didn't know who was doing what, but the fact that women and young and ladies and everybody from all sorts of age brackets are into this sort of thing, it's awesome because you have a common thing to bond about, right? As opposed to being, in your room doing your own thing, and you come to school or you come to work, and then you don't know what. Nobody knows that. Yeah, I just defeated the raid boss of this amazing fight, and nobody can relate with me and how excited you are about something, or you were in a tournament and you won first place. Like you listen to some of the amazing competitors in the FGC, and they go back home, they're like regular people, but on the scene, they're like god tiers or legends or anything like that. That's such a cool thing that people can recognize you down the street. They're like, oh, that's Daigo. Oh, that's Tokido. Or this is so and so. That's what makes me happy about the whole thing. And to have women a part of that is even better because now it's not you're not ostracized or you're not in the closet about your video games.
So when I was growing up, a lot of people assumed like I was like the only girl who played video games. And unlike a lot of other people, I wasn't picked on for liking anime. I wasn't picked on for liking video games. I was actually accepted for it. But
Mm,
people always assumed that I was a unicorn, and I'm not.
mm.
So when I started working at GameStop and they were like, "Oh, you're a girl. You must not know anything about video games." And then I started talking about all of the craziness about what I'm excited about. Like, "Oh, I played this game." Like, oh, you don't think I should work here? And the only thing you buy is Call of Duty and 2K, and you call yourself a gamer. Fair flex,
Oof.
right?
Ow. Oof.
But one of the
Ouch.
things that I learned when I was working at GameStop is that even at GameStop, I could use my pay stubs to get into E3. See, great segue right there. Uh,
Mm.
Ooh.
so
Mm.
when I
Okay.
found out that all I needed to be was some type of relation to the gaming industry, and I can go to E3, it's actually been my dream to go to E3, and I went to GameStop well over a decade ago.
I should have thought of that, honestly. I worked at GameStop for like 2 years. And I didn't think about that at all.
Oh
All I
man.
was really thinking about was the fact that I get to be surrounded by all the games that I'm planning to get. And back when GameStop was a better GameStop, I don't know if they still do this, but they allowed you to at least have like a kind of like a, hey, I want this game, and they put it to the side for you. So you
Mhm.
get like dibs on a game. You get to like buy it later, but
Oh yeah.
as long as you buy it first, and then they just put it to the side. So that was always the perk of going to GameStop. And I worked in the mall, and there was an EB Games that actually existed. That was still there.
Wow. I haven't heard that in a long time. EB Games. Wow.
Brought up by
Right.
I
GameStop
really
a
feel like
while, a
we're
long time ago.
repeating ourselves here when we're saying things like PB Games and
Dude,
NES.
I used to we used to buy these like
Y'all
magazines.
remember Funko Land?
It's crazy.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Like it was kind of a crazy time for me though, because I think that was when the Wii came out.
Mm.
So when the Wii came out, I almost got trampled. That's the best part about that, because people like straight up, it was a small little spot in a mall, and just a little corridor, right? You've seen this game type of GameStop before. People literally lined up, like by a beauty salon, by Sears, by like all the way down throughout the mall just to get a Wii.
Dude, I'm not like
Mm.
I miss those days. Um, where going to GameStop was an event, right? Or a midnight release of something. The last time I experienced that was, I think, Halo Reach, and people gathered around GameStop, and people put their little arcade booths. People were like outside eating and talking and communicating with other gamers, and I haven't seen that in such a long time. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the convenience of not getting out of my my house and playing video games. But I felt like a little bit of that was lost when the digital thing started to pop up everywhere. I just miss seeing people like come with their cosplay costumes, getting together, meeting new people, and getting along. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I was like, oh, you're pretty cool. Let me get your gaming tag. Let's do this. Blase, blase. I kind of miss that.
Funny
It does
story.
change. Yeah.
Uh, I was actually able to pre-order a Switch at GameStop, and the night of the pre-order, the guys there were just maybe it's just me, and I just want to grab my stuff and get out of there.
Mm,
But the people who were there to pre-order the system was just weird. Like they weren't in costumes, but they were saying stuff that's like you normally wouldn't say in public.
mm,
But I guess they may have been socially awkward, so that's why they
mm,
would just go ahead and say it. And it kind of was slightly off-putting. Like I get what you're saying, where you're saying like people come out with cosplays and stuff like that. You meet cool people, link up, get game tags, find out to
mm.
play. But my experiences with GameStop, it's more so like I was always that one guy that would just come there and just talk with the guys over just like buy stuff from the store.
Mm.
But I had one experience where there was a guy that he was interesting to say to for lack of better words, and came in and berated both myself and the associates at the store because we didn't know stuff about certain games that nobody never heard of before.
Oh yeah, that's the guy that has to test you about every factoid that
Yeah, it was
exists.
one of those. But
Oh, that's
Mm.
with so for today, the first topic that we got on the docket is E3. Um, there were several shows that went down with E3 this past week. I want to say past few days, with notable ones being Game Awards Summerfest, the Microsoft show, SquareEnix show, Capcom show, and Nintendo show. So I guess we could start off with Game Awards, where they showed off Borderlands spin-off game called Wonderlands, with featuring Tiny Tina, along with a little skit from Kojima, with announcing Death Stranding Director's Cut. They finally announced Lost Ark, game people have been waiting for a while. They have a Fall Guys crossover with 2B from Nier Automata, and they finally showed off Elden Ring.
Okay.
Probably the most important thing there, but yeah.
Elden Ring, yeah. Like I caught. I had no idea that it was. I was out of the loop for a lot of games that were being anticipated, and I saw Elden Ring. I'm like, okay, I'm getting a Dark Souls vibe. And the more and more I looked at it, I'm like, oh, I want to get my fingers on this. I was like a big Dark Souls fan, so seeing the whole medieval fantasy, a little bit of horror in there, I'm like, okay, this is like right up my alley. So I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, I don't know why they were doing this, but they were trying to tease the fact that it was like, oh, it's here. It's here. Just trust us. It's here. And I don't know which celebrity said it. Like, he came in and he was just like, before you yell at me, no, I don't know anything about Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And they were obviously trying to make a joke saying that it's the last thing. But it was, I don't know, it was pissing me off. All I wanted to know was like, when is it going to come out? Give us a little bit of something. And to be honest, beyond like everything that came on, even Far Cry I actually I looked forward to just a bit, and I thought Borderlands was interesting, but Elden Ring came on, and I'm like, just holding back at saying this was the worst one. This was the worst one, but Elden Ring saved it for me.
Yeah. I personally like that they finally gave Amazon Games his publishing Lost Ark, given that they're about to release New World in 2 months, with that game having its own issues. That would be for another episode. But I'm looking forward to Lost Ark. I was playing the Russian version, and it's something different. It's kind of like a mixture of Diablo and I want to say 14 in a sense, but it's like a darker MMO. Where like I was playing like the Feast storyline, where basically all your teammates got murked as you was going through the castle, and it's like something that it's something different, and the combat looks really, really good, and it feels good to play, especially on the controller. It's not as good as Final Fantasy 14, but obviously because that was crafted to be played on the controller in the first place. But Lost Ark definitely is something I'm looking forward to.
You know me, I'm typically very into like fantasy based style games. So stuff like that always pique my interest, but I'm very big on how does it feel. And I'm very picky like that, man. We can definitely get into that. I think that has a big part as to why I wanted to talk to you about the new Genesis game. But,
He's waiting for it to be, dude.
Bro, I'm going in.
I got a YouTuber for you to keep an eye on. You know Vati Vidya?
Oh
yes.
yeah.
Oh yeah. You know him, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh,
All right. So of course he's going to do everything he can to talk about Elden Ring, right?
He's gonna farm. He's gonna farm that content,
dude. The man is handsome and lorific.
Yes.
All right. The same. I think the first time his face came out, we were like, whoa. It was like he's not ugly. I was like, whoa.
It's like the first time I saw him, like, oh my God, the voice does match the face. Oh my God.
But anyways, back on topic.
Next show that happened was my personal pick for E3 was the Microsoft Bethesda show, where they announced that Halo multiplayer is going to be released for free to play on both Xbox consoles and PC.
Yep, good stuff.
which is definitely a win. I don't have to buy the game because I can really care less about campaign, and I feel like that's a good move for multiplayer games.
I
Um,
think. Uh, okay, how do I feel about this?
go ahead.
Um, Halo, Halo has been a big part of a lot of people's lives. I felt like it's taken a very big dip after three, maybe four or five. Definitely five. Um, but the multiplayer, there's so many shooters out now, and I look at Halo and I'm like, Halo is a classic form of game, and to see it take the free to play model, I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, you're starting to adopt the current trend, right? Which is free to play, which is we're gonna put some microtransactions, we're gonna put a couple things here to squeeze out some extra dough.
Hmm.
So I like the fact that it's free, so that people, and I like the fact that you can play on PC, and is it cross platform? Do we know?
Mm,
We
I mean,
don't know.
that's due to be said. Yeah.
We don't know. I would want it to be cross platform because I want to bring the players together. Um, so
Audio
here's the
stuff.
I
here's the
have
thing
the
that's cross.
audio
Yeah, we already
on
cross.
max. I don't know what's going on. Try this again. Go ahead. Because I got blast in my ear. Go ahead.
Uh, okay,
Ah,
yeah,
God damn it. Ow.
yeah,
Ow,
yeah.
ow,
That's
ow.
yeah. That hurts, don't it? Yeah, does it hurt your ear?
Ow.
Yeah, it hurts.
No, see,
Um,
because this is what happens when you listen to have studio headphones on your ear for like
uh,
max for like 3 years
uh,
when you get on
huh.
Philly trains and people
Yeah,
just be coming up to you with the
your
stupid
ear.
stuff.
Your ear's all messed up now, huh?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
be playing on
you
max.
can't listen. You can't listen no more. Yeah, you see, your mom told you not to do it, but you wouldn't listen. And now and you see what happens now. Anyways, yeah, I would hope that Microsoft is smart enough to bring the two-player base together. More people playing together is always best. I am I like the fact that people can play. You don't need a campaign because let's be honest, Halo campaigns have been it's been a little shitty lately. Okay, just a little bit. Um, but I'm concerned. I'm like, okay, where is the microtransaction gonna come in?
I
How
mean,
is it gonna affect the
it's
game?
it's not guaranteed though. Like,
That's,
I
that's
understand.
what, but here's the thing: you have to be you have to think as a company. I want to make money. Okay, if the fact that they're adopting that model is because it's like a guy saying, "Hey, I'm gonna put something in my bread so that somebody can buy the bread," and then everybody goes buy that bread, and then you sitting here with your regular day old bread, and you be like, "What are you gonna do? Not do it to make some money?"
It is crossplay, just so you know.
Right?
It's
It is
crossplay
CrossFit.
with PC,
Wonder,
Xbox Series systems, and Xbox One consoles.
wonderful. That's one of the best moves you can do, in my opinion.
That's good.
Awesome
That's good.
decision.
I would also say, business wise, it's probably for free to play, probably good business wise.
Mm.
But in terms of like morality, I could see what you're saying. Like free to play comes with a caveat because it can do good and bad. Like
Yeah,
how League of Legends is a thing and in Fortnite,
yeah.
and it's free to play and it's done well. But
Mm.
like what comes with the free to play
It,
model,
it's it
it's
the, exactly.
it's a
There's
it's basically a trap. So
yeah, there's a thin line between your developers being benevolent or being demonic, right? If they want to squeeze every bit out of you, they can do it, and then their justification it's free to play, bro.
well,
Even if they don't want to, they could really do that. But the reason why I'm concerned about it is because the the original concept behind the multiplayer of Halo is the structure is created behind the power weapons, and everybody's starting off on an even playing field, and whoever gains ground gets to dominate. That's the beauty of Halo, right? As opposed to playing a Call of Duty where whoever has the most creativity in creating a loadout can gain an advantage in some kind of way, right? So that's why Halo is interesting to me, because it's like whoever gains ground and is the most skilled at controlling the power weapons and the power positions, and who's the most skilled in their aim and their movement, tend to be the ones that fare better in the game.
So, Bifu Techie
you're
in the
right.
chat saying that it's crossplay and it has to be crossplay. Microsoft has to make sure that gaming on PC and Xbox is on the same level. They do not want to segregate the fans, which I agree
Yeah.
with that. Like segregating the fans,
It should-
like the
My-
perfect example would be Samurai Showdown that just released on PC, where not only is it not crossplay with the consoles, the game is also not crossplay with people who bought the game on Epic Game Store.
They to me, it just doesn't make sense, right? And I understand why people do this. I mean, when I say people, I mean the companies. The companies are trying to sell you hardware, okay? And they have to have an incentive for you to buy a particular hardware over another. So it doesn't make sense if they want you to buy their hardware, but they're saying the hardware is cross-platform, then they're removing an incentive for you to buy one particular platform over another, right? Which is why I always say, the thing that's going to make you buy a PS4 over an Xbox or vice versa is an exclusive game. That's always been the games always dominate.
Absolutely. Right.
Always. And my thing is, if you're a third-party developer and you're selling it to all companies, your game or your IP, why are you segregating the players? I mean, take Titanfall for an example. Titanfall's population at one point was so ridiculously low, and it was a multiplayer game. Like, they try to sell it to you like, oh, there's a campaign. It was basically multiplayer with a bunch of guys talking in your monitor, right? But the interest for the game died, and there were a whole bunch of people that were playing other consoles that couldn't play because it was exclusive, and then the player base died. Imagine had it been spread out to the other platform, you would have had maybe a better health, a more healthy community around that particular game. But nobody was going to shelf out some money to go get an Xbox One just to play that, for people to just scurry away and not, mess with it. Which is why, again, I'm big on that. Bring the players together. Just let them play. Let them play together. It's healthier in the long run for the game and for if you're trying to, I don't know, sell microtransactions and stuff like that. It's healthier to do that.
Oh, that's never like the microtransactions. That right there.
But if it's a free to play game, like that has to happen. Because
like if it's
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. They're not stupid to not do it. That's exactly why they're doing it. They're realizing that people are buying battle passes all day.
But the free to play topic is something that could be said for another podcast, because that is going to open a whole can of worms, especially for the MMO community.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
But moving on this.
Right.
They also announced Forza 5, which is something I've been looking forward to.
I'm going to need Raina's opinions to be interjected, please. Kind of quiet there.
Oh, my bad. See, because what y'all was saying was everything I was already believing in. And my only thing that I would add to that would be how I didn't see a purpose of ever buying an Xbox ever again until they actually did this event. Because remember last year, they were like, yeah, we're not really going to be exclusive anymore. Everything's gonna be on PC, guys.
I mean,
I already have I just built my PC in February.
I don't know what they like. I'm so confused by Microsoft sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, great software, amazing stuff. Don't get me wrong, but when I look at their console, right, and I'm trying to find an incentive for buying it, their bank is really on Halo, and Halo has been dwindling for so long now.
I disagree. I don't think their bank is on Halo. Their bank is on
they got
and cloud gaming.
Bank was when they bought Bethesda, and thank God they did.
That's why they have to. think that's why they had to do that, because I'm sitting here, I'm looking at PS4. I was like, PS4 is not necessarily doing anything more extravagant than Xbox. It just has more IPs behind it, or more interesting IPs behind it. I'll just sit there and I'll look at Microsoft. I'm like, bro, what are you making that is better than Halo? And Halo is, again, no disrespect, love this game. It's very old. It's a very old IP. It's recognizable. Everybody knows the name.
Hey,
but
Ratchet and Clank just put out this game. They've been around at the same time.
And dude, like, I'm like, yo, you guys gotta make something, and you have to make something that is gonna sell, because you're banking on Halo, and every time Halo messes up somehow, it's less of incentive to purchase an Xbox, because I have to ask myself, well, I can just get a PC and play all those games, or I can get on PS4 and play the same games and get an exclusive stuff out of PS4. Like, good move to buy Bethesda. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to be upset or worried about their next Elder Scroll game, but they got to make something, man, because I don't get it.
People forget that they have a whole bunch of indie studios under them too. Like, they had a whole entire E3 where they were just like, look at all these indies, and it was like literally like 54, like 40 something studios.
You don't have something like.
So the problem is that everything's also coming to PC. So if, like me, I have a PC with a 2080 Super, and I can play anything in 1440p. Them bringing all the exclusives to PC devalues the point of them buying a console. There's literally, like, even though I want a console because my childhood friends play on Xbox, and for some reason don't want to play on PlayStation, I don't understand why, but that's my only reason to want to buy an Xbox, so I can play with them, because I haven't really played games with them since I basically moved to PC gaming. But it's kind of just like, if you want people to want to buy the console and improve the player base, moving games to, like, making stuff so, like, there's no reason, you have to give people an incentive to want to buy the console. What that incentive should be, I don't know.
That is the company's job to figure out. Look, people are gonna buy consoles, don't get me wrong, because individuals that don't want to tinker with a PC they just don't want to invest that sort of money in. So a console is very convenient. The problem is, if you want them to buy your console over another console, is that you have to give them a reason. Okay? You have to give them a reason. You have to give them a game. Like, I bought my PS4, and this is what I realized this past generation. I bought my console for Bloodborne and for God of War. That's it. And then later on, when Final Fantasy VII came out, I already had it. But those were the three main reasons why I bought the console.
Man, you ain't get Final Fantasy 14 on PS4?
Yeah, but that was way back when. Anyway, those three reasons, I really sat there and looked at the life shelf of the console. I'm like, I really didn't play it like that. I was on my PC. I looked at my Xbox, right? My Xbox, I played that even less. So for me, I was more concerned about, I did not want to buy my old games. I was sick and tired of doing, which is what pushed me to PC. I was like, PC, I got it. It stays there. I don't have to rebuy it. It stays on my shelf. So when I look at the consoles, I'm like, the only reason why somebody is buying a console is for convenience. Because I get so much more from dealing with a PC. So much more.
You know what? They also have the Game Pass on the PC. That's not
Game
helping
Pass
them.
Is literally the only thing worth buying.
Yeah,
like paying for that subscription. That honestly, when they first came up with the concept, like especially with like the Xbox One, I think they kind of started it with like 360, but when PlayStation had that whole
sorry, go ahead.
when PlayStation had that whole
like, yeah, we lost a lot of your information. We're sorry. We're going to now give you guys some really good games every month. Now, like, you have access to so much stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, that's actually bomb. Like, these are some really good games. Xbox, what do you have? Oh, you got Fable?
Word?
So
The original?
We get to see a
You
pixie
you
get eaten
the
by a frog.
you get
Oh
the
my
first Fable? You don't even get Fable 3? Like,
oh
like,
wait. To be fair, Fable 3 was on free on Xbox 360 via glitch for like a whole
oh my.
month.
so
I have
not
somehow
gonna lie, I got my Fable 3 that way too.
I have the Russian version
wow.
of the game. I don't
No,
know
I-
how.
I got mine all in English, but I definitely got it during that glitch point. But the point that I was trying to make is the fact that, like, at first they wasn't really bringing it. It's like, yo, PlayStation kind of killing y'all with like these free games or cheap games. But then they were like, okay, we gotta up the ante. Game Pass now. I'm like, bruh, are you serious? You telling me
all right.
they announced like all of the stuff on Game Pass. You see all of those Dooms. They got all of the Fallouts. Like, Game Pass is honestly the best way to go right now.
Yeah.
Let me interject here. So it started with Xbox One, where initially they were doing the games, I guess games for gold, games of gold, after PlayStation started doing the PlayStation Plus games back when, to be, in my opinion, they used to be good games that we're getting. But once they stopped giving out the PS3 games and the PS1 games, because I remember I used to sub the PS Plus back when it first started, and was getting so many good PS1 games. But they started. I think they started doing Game Pass once after. I think it was after PlayStation Now, where PlayStation Now was all streaming service, and their service at the time was like, eh. So Game Pass happened, and I do think that Game Pass is like the best deal in gaming. But I think Xbox just needs to get rid of games of gold, because they haven't been like good. Like you only got like, I think the only good game, in my opinion, that came out on games with gold this entire year was Gears 5, and Gears 5 is subjective. Everything else has been either shovelware. Well, there's Batman Lego too, but I mean,
Do you see like how we're measuring the greatness of a gaming company? It's still boils
PS
down
Plus
to
games
the
haven't
game.
been that great either.
No. What I'm saying is, do you see the conundrum of the console battle, right? It still boils down to the fact that, do you have the games, right? The way they satiate the consumer base is by saying, hey, all these old games that you used to love, that you already paid for? Yeah, I'm going to let you have it. First it was like you had to buy it again. Then it's like, okay, I'm going to have a subscription service. I know you play this already, but now I'm going to make you pay for it monthly, right? And the main core of the problem that I'm still waiting to see resolved is, what sort of IP are you currently making that is worth purchasing your console? Because
it might be Starfield, which is coming out next year.
So they say. And that's why I'm always going back to PC. I bought it once, it stays there forever. It don't go nowhere. Now, again, like I said, you're gonna buy a console for the convenience. You don't want to put the little hard drive. You don't want to put the little core. You don't want to put the little, thermal paste on your iCore thing and not fuck it up. Great, but Microsoft, Sony. I think Sony does a decent job as far as bringing us something interesting. But Microsoft in particular, I'm like, bro, you gotta try, man. You gotta find something, make it work. Make sure it's exclusively Microsoft, because now that they did the whole PC and Xbox thing, it's kind of like you're kind of like kicking Xbox out of the way a little bit. So I don't know what they're doing with Xbox. I don't know how long its longevity is gonna last, how long the health for that is gonna last. Because if you can make a quick PC, if you could buy a pre-built PC, why not? Why not do that?
I can see them Because you just reminded me of the year where they came into E3 and they legit had absolutely nothing, and we were sitting there questioning, like, why are you here? Like, what is happening?
You talking about
It was-
Microsoft?
It
Yeah.
was bad.
It was bad. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. No, last year they didn't have one, so it had to be like either the year before or the year before that. But they legit had nothing. And we were sitting here just pondering, like, why are you even here?
You wasted.
Yeah, I agree, Beefy. Like, Xbox is for
Wasted.
people who don't want to deal with PC.
Oh,
But if you have a
dude.
PC, what's the point of buying Xbox?
Like that.
Right.
I think everybody remembered the Xbox One presentation, right?
Was that the one?
Yeah, the future is TV. We're gonna integrate everything with TV.
Oh,
And
you're
I'm like,
oh.
I'm like, this is a gaming console. What are you doing?
I think they thought that people were still watching TV on the regular.
They were complete idiots. Like, again, I sat there and I'm like, you're in a conference about a console that's supposed to play games. You haven't mentioned a game at all. You're talking about television. And the thing that made it worse is that we all remember the 360 era, right? How 360 was destroying PlayStation.
Partially because PlayStation decided to use the cell processing instead of x86. Like,
Yeah.
normal people and
When I
most
tell you-
developers didn't know how to use cell processing to the point where you had ports like Bayonetta that took a minute to load the pause screen.
I'm just confused because, again, I think companies have a problem where they have a disconnect with their consumer base.
They have
right?
they have a disconnect, I think, more or less on like just gaming in general. Because
Yeah.
they can say that for gamers, by the gamers, we do this for, like, they could say that all they want, but when you see their practices, you're asking questions like, all right, so how is this for the gamers if you are talking about television?
Yeah. Even now, like, it's and I've noticed this pattern. It's happened with Bethesda. It's happened with CD Projekt Red, Microsoft. I'm sure you can think of a variety of other companies. They have this thing where they create they have a great rapport with their consumer base, right? Because they realize they're kind of like the underdog, so they're trying to establish a foothold in the market. They do a great job of doing that, and then somewhere along the way, they lose their principles. It's like, what? Like, we loved you because you were doing this, and then for whatever reason, you stopped doing that. It doesn't make sense. Xbox 360 had a great run, an amazing run.
But you know where they fucked up, right? You know how that all went downhill in like one day, right?
Of course.
And I feel bad for Phil Spencer because like he's trying his best to make Xbox like a valuable platform because so many people lost like faith in the system over something that someone else did. Telling people to say making the console online, and then if you didn't want to do online, stay on 360. That was the
You don't
Wait,
say you
That
don't
was the
say,
DRM thing, right?
It was
yeah,
the DRM.
you do not say that to your customers. You do not say, if you live in a third world country with no internet, screw you. You don't say that. That's the dumbest move. Like, the fact that they casually said that, it's like, oh, you don't want money. I get it. Okay, let's go to this PS4 real quick.
Just to be sure, was that because of like piracy, or was
They
that
were trying-
because?
So what they were trying to do is they were trying to stop GameStop because at the time GameStop was still like a huge seller, and they were trying to stop because GameStop was making a lot of money off of trade-ins where you trade the game in, you'll get like whatever. Let's say like Smash right now trades in for
Yeah, they make more.
$23.
Yeah, they make more money off of trade-ins.
They only make
yeah.
like if you I used to work for GameStop too. If they sell a new game, because a manager explained it to me, if you sell a new game, they only make $5 off the game. But if they sell a used game, they make all that money back. So like there was like instances where GameStop, like I think this happened with Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii, where someone after the initial run, someone had went ahead and got permission from Nintendo to republish the game in America. And what GameStop would do, they would take the new copies because they can list the game for however much they want to list the game for. Like I remember Marvel 2 being almost $100 used, but they couldn't change the price on the new copies. So this happened with Xenoblade, where they took copies of the game, opened and gutted them, and then slapped used on them and sold them for $80 to $100.
Oh, that's not good. That's bad.
No,
I remember that.
That's
though.
what they were trying to stop. They were trying to stop GameStop from making all the money because after the game's initial sold, a lot of people will wait for used copies of games because at the time games were coming out kind of busted. At the release it now, patch it later kind of stuff. Like I think Returnal came out kind of busted, and it had to get a couple of patches for it to be decent enough to play it, given how the game functioned. But they were trying to Xbox was trying to cut out the middleman. And it wasn't a good way of how they were doing it because they were making it online, where once the disc entered that system, it was locked to that system. So,
but again, it's like you can't. I mean, that defeats the purpose of having a licensing. Like, why? If I pay you for the licensing of a game, you can't then turn around and tell me, well, your licensing is like still in our hand. It's like, hey, I'm gonna give you this license, but this license, you got to come to my hand to get it. I was like, this is why I paid you for the licensing. You can't tell me where I can apply this. I have the licensing. I understand their way they wanted to try to combat this, but you don't punish the consumer. If the consumer is always gonna go the route that is the easiest to make a buck or to get that product, okay? So it doesn't make sense for you to turn around and tell your consumer, it's like, oh, this is your fault. Wait, I'm giving you money. Why would you
that's
say
actually right. Hurl, let me cut you off on this. Beefu brought up that Xbox Series X has DRM, and I can confirm it.
It does. They do some weird practices over there.
When I was trying to sell the console, I took the console offline because I was like, I'm just making sure the game functions. Mind you, I own like 100 games on Xbox, and I bought Nier Automata before they released the game on Game Pass. I tried to boot the game. You got to go online. Why? If I own the game digitally, like Steam, Steam only requires me to check once a week or once a month. But if Steam goes down for whatever reason, I still have access to all my games.
Exactly.
Xbox Network is down? Guess you're not playing Xbox games.
And dude,
that's the idea that they want us to believe. We actually don't own any of the games we bought entire life.
And that's why I said it the way I did. You don't own an IP. When you're purchasing a copy of something, you're essentially buying a licensing, but you can't alter the game because you don't own it. It isn't yours. You're just getting a copy. It's like getting a license. So my thing about it is, the old way, I don't regress. I don't like this idea of regression where I have to go to, first of all, sometimes not even the owner, the guy that's distributing the license via the whatever platform you're trying to use something. I have to come to you to get the shit that I paid for because you don't want me to go elsewhere to fucking get it. It doesn't make, I don't regress. I gave you my money, leave it at that. But you don't get to dictate where I go to play my shit. Like that's just, to me, and the fact that they were so casual about saying it at the time, I'm like, fucks no, I'm not buying a Xbox. Are you crazy?
Hero. Listen, Sony had a word to say about that.
Right,
they made a whole 15-second commercial.
Let's
That's exactly what they did.
This
so
destroyed them. And the fact that they did it, it was right. They should have done that.
No, this is not even.
Wait.
This is not even the first time.
Let me put a pause on this because Xbox can be a whole topic in itself because I feel like we're opening a can of worms of Xbox being Xbox.
Bro.
So let's let's keep the train moving on this.
This is how you trade a game.
So
I will say this for the Microsoft thing. Like everybody was excited. They were like, "Oh my god, Halo! Ooh, Forza looks fun. You can, hit some pinballs and some pinatas. Woohoo!" Redfall.
I was actually liking that game.
Oh my
I'm buying that.
Redfall
Can't
is
judge.
going to be the reason why I happily say I'm gonna have a Game Pass. Just excuse me. Did you if you have not seen Redfall's trailer, do yourself a service. Go look at the Redfall trailer. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm not even just talking about the beautiful black woman that they had there just slaying with her afro, like the mechanics of her hair flowing in the wind while she pushing a vampire off the edge of a building with a magical umbrella. Like the fact that they gave it that much detail. But the detail that they put into each one of the characters, you could tell that they actually cared about diversity because it's like they were able to show different hues. Like everybody wasn't lily white. Like even white people aren't pale. Like they have varying changes in their colors as well. It's like the amount of detail and the vampires and the people, the texture of the background. Like this was a beautiful trailer, and I hope that the game is just as good.
So
speaking of trailers, speaking of this, okay. Before I go, before we get back to normal.
Is this on Xbox?
I don't want to see no trailers when there's no gameplay. I'm sorry. Love E3 is great, but I don't want to hear people that say, "Hey, we got something coming out," but there's really nothing coming out.
Who to blame, though, right?
We have nothing ready. This is just what we're thinking about doing.
You know who's blamed for that, right?
Who?
Ubisoft.
Bro, I said there was a lot of stuff that I saw on and they've done this way back when. They love showing shit that they have no solid foundation for, right? They want to get a buzz going for something that's not even concrete, right? They've done that. I remember when Mass Effect Andromeda came out. It's like, yeah, we're making a new Mass Effect, and we think we got something, but we're not sure. We're gonna show you space photos, which is why the outer space trailer was hilarious. I laughed at that solely for the fact that it was honest. It's saying we ain't got shit ready, but we're thinking about making it. And that's basically what a lot of E3 reviews are about. It's like, bro, you're not ready. Don't show anything until you have something concrete. Show me gameplay, because ultimately, a game is not just watching something. You have to have the mechanics. There has to be some kind of gameplay. So there's a lot of stuff that I saw in E3. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, speaking of, Pokey, I think you got something for us in terms of a trailer, right?
For
SquareEnix.
Oh, we're gonna talk about SquareEnix.
Oh my God!
We're ready. Thank you for reeling me in.
Oh my God!
So for SquareEnix, was showing off Guardians of the Galaxy in 30 FPS, which is also released on Switch, which is why I think like the game looked really weird. Life is Strange: True Colors and a remaster. The remaster, I have things to say about that. Babylon's Fall. Yeah.
One.
Meh.
Avengers showing off Black Panther expansion, and Spider-Man still MIA. He's probably never coming, which means those PlayStation sales were camped. They were robbed, and then Chaos.
Oh my God!
Chaos.
Oh
So,
my god.
and it's funny. The people who made
Dude.
Neo made
Oh
this
my
game.
Let's
God,
go.
bro.
Let's go down in order.
Jesus Christ.
So, does anybody have anything to say about Guardians of the Galaxy?
Looks good. It
Looks
looks
solid.
good. It looks good. The gameplay I'm kind of worried about. The whole dialogue. I thought the dialogue was fun. It's comical. Keeps with the theme of what we've grown to know about Guardian of the Galaxy. So those are great. My issue is the gameplay, because you have to give a certain degree of complexity for my problem with movie games or comic book games as of late, right?
That isn't
They're
Spider-Man.
that isn't Spider-Man. They always trying to cash in on the movie. So there's never a degree of complexity in terms of gameplay. They've gotten better at it over time. Spider-Man is one of those that
I'm gonna cut
has
you off on
only-
that.
has
Spider-Man
only gotten better.
Insomniac Spider-Man's good.
No, they've had Spider-Man's in particular.
What Spider-Man
Has
games?
all-
What? Go ahead.
has gotten better. The recent one that they came out.
That's
I thought,
what I just said. So what other Spider-Man games have been
but
good?
even prior to that, you can see the progression for Spider-Man games, because there's something innate about Spider-Man. There's just something about swinging the buildings of New York. That's just fun for people, right? And that's not a mechanic that's often utilized. Which is on a side note, which is kind of funny that I'm seeing a lot of grappling hooks and E3 lately. Halo got grappling hooks. Battlefield has grappling hooks. Like grappling hooks.
Horizon Zero Dawn 2 has grappling hooks.
Grappling hooks is like a theme. Everybody's got to get one now.
Just
So,
just
yeah.
like everybody's doing Battle Royale now, it's grappling hooks.
But you know what? I get what you're saying, because like Avengers was exactly like that. So I'm guessing you're just like, you know, a little bit like just cautious on that, because they have Black Panther, but it's like it's just Black Panther. Like, yeah,
dude, I am phobic of movie games. I really am, because they never take it to a degree of complexity where you look at mechanics of how the game functions and do interesting things with them. Spider-Man is very interesting because people love momentum, which goes back to why I don't understand why Pokey doesn't fucking like this new PSO thing.
We're gonna end up getting to it next week.
Look,
we'll get to that.
Look, the momentum of swinging around buildings does something for people, because it's an unusual thing. That is not a common thing that you see in video games. Video games tend to have tropes. Red barrels go explosions, you know, if there's like a crate somewhere over somebody's head, you know, it's gonna fall. Like, there are typical common things that you can tell. If the guy is showing his back, it's usually critical damage, right? But you don't see a lot of situations where, like Spider-Man, the momentum of flowing from building to building will give you that sort of sense of inertia. Which is why I think Spider-Man is able to survive for so long, because that's just fun. It's just a fun thing to do. As opposed to, you know, potentially playing Guardian of the Galaxy and having a third-person guy having a submachine gun pew-pewing and not really doing much with that, right? So that's why I'm very skeptical. Until I see some gameplay, I'm not.
They did show gameplay.
I'm not. I know. I saw pew-pew and then maybe a little bit of melee, and I'm like,
I feel like they should have made the rest of the Guardians playable.
I think it's not going to be as bad.
It may not be.
It's going to be story driven.
And we saw a snippet of what they have to offer, so I agree with that. But
I'm not even. It's not even on my radar. I'm not even paying attention to that.
So who here plays Life is Strange?
I do, and my problem, I was going to segue into that, is that I don't know why the first game is being remastered at all. Like, you look at it, and all they did was brighten the colors or darken the colors or whatever, because it was a light game, and they darkened the colors, and it feels like people are going to get robbed from buying this game. unless you are on Switch.
So they remastered it and have a sequel.
No,
The
so here's what happened. Um, the initial game was made by Don't Nod, right?
okay.
And there is a prequel called Before the Storm, which is part of the remaster collection, which was made by Deck 9. Don't Nod made Life is Strange 2. However, they had initially said that they weren't really trying to progress on with Max's story, given that the game is Max's story was open ended. Depending on what you did, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's stuff that happens that can alter what ending you got. And they went on with a new character. However, the new they did stuff in the second game that people are kind of just like, I'm not too sure. But Don't Nod didn't want to make any more Life is Strange games. They wanted to move on to something else. However, Life is Strange brand was still very profitable. So Square Enix handed the Don't Nod series back to Deck 9 since Before the Storm did better than Life is Strange 2. So what's happening is that Life is Strange True Colors is being made by the people who made the prequel and being remastered by the people who made the prequel. And there's also supposedly a Life is Strange 4 in the works, which is a sequel to Life is Strange 1. It's very confusing, but that's where we're at. So Life is Strange 2, I believe, is not part of the universe. Maybe it's its own entity. Where Before the Storm, Life is Strange 1, and the supposed sequel to 1, which is after True Colors, it's its own entity, and then True Colors itself, it's its own entity.
Oh, this is one. I think it's like one of those like maybe not a licensing thing, but maybe it's just like what they could do at the time kind of thing.
It's more so they didn't want to make any more Life is Strange games.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like Beanox with Spider-Man games, where they didn't want to make any more Spider-Man games, but Activision kept making them make Spider-Man games to the point that we got Amazing Spider-Man 2 that looked worse than Amazing Spider-Man 1. And Amazing Spider-Man 2 was on PS4, Xbox One, with Amazing Spider-Man 1 being on PS3.
Well, that's the thing. They want to hold the IP, right?
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yep, and that's why Insomniac now has the not so much the IP, but more so, well, not Insomniac, more Sony with Insomniac Studios.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's also Babylon's Fall, which is something people were looking forward to, but apparently it came out not what people were expecting. The graphics look really like they used a weird art style with the game, made it co-op, and made it a live service game.
Well, there
That's like Godfall.
Yep, live service. That's good luck.
That's enough for me, dog.
So about Neo, I mean Final Fantasy.
Yeah, now we can talk about
Oh my god, bro. Oh my god. Dude,
something just happened like an hour.
Let me tell you my introduction to this shit. Okay?
Okay.
I was casually, browsing Twitter. I'm like, hey, I haven't been on Twitter around. I'm ready to see what toxicity is available on Twitter. And open the catalog. I was like, oh yeah, E3 is happening at the moment. And then I was like, yeah, Final Fantasy Origin. I'm like, the moment I saw Origin, I'm like, I don't like this. First of all, I'm a very Sakaguchi purist type of guy. So anybody that fucks with Final Fantasy any goofy way already upsets me. So the fact that I saw Origins, I'm like, I don't like this. But fuck it, let's go check it out. They're moving around. First of all, the main character doesn't look Final Fantasy. Looks like average Joe Schmo. I really thought this was like some Gears of War or some Devil May Cry type of stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm following. Where's the fantasy in this? And I heard chaos. Yeah, I'm here to fight chaos. I'm like, okay, maybe it's like a big demon type of thing. And then they said chaos again. I was like, man, this guy's really into this chaos shit. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then the villain is presented. And I was like, yeah, I'm not Garlemald. I am becoming chaos. I'm like, what 5-year-old wrote this shit? Like, it bothers my mind that Final Fantasy, first of all, let's be real. Final Fantasy gets really wild with their stories sometimes. Like, do I have whispers? I'm sure most of you guys know what that means.
Not everyone is talented at making stories, bro.
Okay. Whisperers. So I know there's a degree of absurdity that we're going to get with a Final Fantasy game. But dude, when the dialogue is written in such a manner where it's like, yeah, I gotta fight chaos. Chaos is like my mortal enemy. This isn't the only reason why I'm living. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, why would you? What sort of incentive do you like? Here's what I hate that I get the feeling people tend to want to do, and it boils down to not respecting the IP, right? Oftentimes, a company wants to release a new game or a new IP, but the problem is they don't have confidence in the branding of a new title, right? So what do? They find a title that they know is successful and merge it some kind of way. So the thing is, they could have said the whole Paradise title and leave it at that, but they don't want to risk losing something. So they put Final Fantasy Origin. Origin of what? Final Fantasy
1. It's based off Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it's a retelling of like Final Fantasy 1. And by the way, the demo is not as great. So
I think like it's a work in progress, and
bro, it's like all the bad things of Neo seems to be like just amplified in this demo. Because
they tried to make it. They tried to add magic and all this other stuff. Like, I'm gonna play the demo tonight after with the podcast, and I'm gonna get a feel how I feel the game.
Play it on hard mode. You play it on hard mode. Like I don't know why they were just like so. Normal is easy and hard is just.
Bro, look, just looking at, I've seen enough of Final Fantasy 1, right? The way to set that up is it's not well done. You have to, I understand that maybe in the past that these sort of dialogues are like a staple of, you know, the modern, at the times. You can't make a new game and present that to an audience. By the way, if somebody's interested in playing a retelling of a Final Fantasy game, they're not a child anymore. So these dialogues or these presentations, they're not sophisticated enough. Like, most people are gonna look at this shit and laugh, which they've been doing. Dude, somebody wrote on Twitter, said, hey, I tried to play the demo for Final Fantasy Origin, and then and this is what I got, and there's a loading screen and it says error. And then somebody underneath says,
have you seen enough of Final Fantasy? Wait, Hero, you out here capping. How have you seen enough of Final Fantasy 1? People Techie says.
Bro, I've seen enough videos to see a general sense of what the concept is.
It's a game that hasn't been really remade outside just making the game accessible. I think, like, go ahead, finish.
There's 14 versions of Final Fantasy 1.
I know. But the general premise of it you can still get, right? So my thing is, I just look at that. I'm like, this is not a good presentation. We don't have the end product, but not like this, man.
But it could end up like Final Fantasy Remake. where they changed a lot of stuff with
They put
7th
a lot.
remake.
Put a bunch of whisperers in it. You know,
Let's-
alternate
have
the
you-
time.
have-
All right,
universe. Oh my
let's just have Pokey play the demo, and he'll
Oh.
make his own
Yeah,
judgment.
I have-
his judgment.
Please, I'm very curious about it. Please tell me, and I'm interested in.
Do you
the
have the chat
gameplay.
open here?
The what?
The
No,
YouTube
no,
chat.
no.
Open the YouTube
Uh-uh.
chat.
All I'm
Mm.
saying is, if you've got 500 to 1,000 hours that you just don't have anything else to do, I think you should get 1 through 6, and then by that time,
Oh, they're releasing
you
that,
know,
by the way.
7 part 2. I know. It's like, just go ahead, play through all of it, which is why I said 500 to 1,000 hours. Go ahead, play through 1 through 6. Part 7, you know, 7 part 2 might be out by the time you finish.
Well, let me add a caveat. You could play Final Fantasy 1. It's a good start. Don't play 2. Final Fantasy 3. If you like something hard. Final Fantasy 4. Second best. Final Fantasy 5. Pretty good. Final Fantasy 6. Probably one of the best. Just don't play 2. 2 kind of sucks.
I hear that a lot, by the way. I played 6. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah,
1, 2, and 3. I've just seen people play a little bit. I'm like, okay, cool, I get it. I can see where the foundation was laid for what Final Fantasy is supposed to be, right? Down to the classes and stuff like that. But I know what people say. This shit is like consuming. But seeing this new shit, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's something I want to touch. But Pokey, you play. You let me know what you
let
think
him.
of it.
Yeah, let him play the game, and he'll
Mhm.
he'll feel it.
Yeah.
So let's go on and say that Final Fantasy, like, I think honestly Square Enix did okay. I wouldn't say I was privy for Life is Strange. It's for somebody, so that's fine. Guardians is okay. Avengers, I don't care. Final Fantasy Neo is something, and 1 through 6 I appreciate, but I already have 1 through 6 on Steam. That's also rezzed up as well, so I'm not too sure what they were doing with. I mean, it's all good, but like I have them already.
Yeah.
On Steam.
I mean, I look, I get it. I understand. You're trying to. It's like polishing an old glass, right? You're trying to keep it up to. I get it, but I'm not gonna pay. Like, I hope they don't expect me to pay full price for some shit like this, because that's not happening. But there might be some. There might be some people that I guess, like, I don't know who would do it, but I know somebody's gonna pay for this.
Raina, you're gonna pay. You're gonna get them though, right?
I'm getting every single last one of them.
But you probably already have a version of them though, right?
Yeah, no, like, I grew up playing them, but so, like, it'd be nice to be able to see it remastered. But not only that, it's something my son really loves to do. Like, he loves watching me play video games. So having that experience for him while he's growing up, that's great. And then, like, I know a lot of people didn't like all of the things that were happening with Avengers. I actually enjoyed Avengers. It kind of blew my last PC up, but it was what I needed to go ahead and get all of the parts that I needed to build my new PC. So if it wasn't for Avengers, I wouldn't have
Great job,
my new build
Avengers.
right now.
Thanks, Avenger, guardian of breaking my
Right.
my
So
hard drive.
I wouldn't have the PC that I have right now if it wasn't for Avengers blowing my last one up.
All right, so Avengers did some good out there in the universe. Okay, I can submit to
it
that.
did.
There you
And
go.
I know a lot of people were, like, upset with the amount of time that was given to Guardians of the Galaxy. They felt like
It was okay though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It was okay. And it was a 45 minute presentation, and over 20 of it was just for Guardians of the Galaxy. I was happy for the gameplay, but it was a really long trailer.
Truth.
It should have been a shorter trailer, but that same amount of gameplay to see it. But they also should not have probably used, like, blobs to showcase how amazing the game could potentially be. Because it's like, if I wanted to do that, I could go play Genshin for free. You know,
True. Like, I get what you're saying.
that was kind of the biggest pitfall for that gameplay and that trailer. Being able to see is like, oh, you're playing with some of these characters that people really loved and enjoyed.
But Reina, it's that Marvel money. Of course they got to do it. It's Marvel, baby.
It's Disney. Let's be real. If it was Marvel, it'd probably be so overpriced, but so well done because they're like, we gotta put everything. There's gonna be so many Easter eggs, and you gotta be able to read the comic to even know that it's there.
That's not enough. Like, I get it, man. Like, maybe it's because I'm not a comic book guy. I just like, I get it. The movie's great. We had a fun time, but it's not enough for me in games. Like, oh, this is my favorite dude. I was like, cool.
Yeah, and then people were also upset because they didn't look like the actors from the movie. I was like, excuse me, why?
Why? Yeah, I don't. Okay, whatever.
You know what? No one said a damn thing when they were like, all right, it's Nick Fury and it's Samuel L. Jackson comes out for the first time, and they're like, is he black? Like, really? Like, was he always black? And it seems
he
like
was white, and then the comics were like, now he's black now.
Now he's black. Like, that was so undercover now because like nobody talked about it for a while. They're just like, oh, okay.
But yeah, cool. but do you see how the collective, right? An individual that reads comic books religiously or is an avid comic book reader would know about these sort of things, but the public doesn't know that. So ultimately, Star-Lord is, the movie guy. So nobody else can be him.
So like,
in the public's eye.
So like, what's the difference? Like, really, and this is for like people who actually was upset that it wasn't movie Star-Lord. Like, what's the difference between movie Star-Lord with like brown hair and still very jokey to the video game version who has kind of the same persona but only has like blonde hair, like, and he's portrayed more comic book like. So I don't.
It's one of those things where for some people the superficial becomes the identity of the individual as opposed to the core concept of what the character is supposed to be, right?
I literally heard him complain about the fact that Drax wasn't as big. It's like, are you serious? Yeah. Like, Drax is still muscle bound. Like, we didn't like Groot. It's like, he's a tree. He's a sentient tree. You're mad about the fact that this tree doesn't look like the tree that you saw for the last couple of years.
And let me wrap this. Let me wrap this in the bow because we are 9:30 and we got maybe a half hour left, and we still got 2 things to talk about.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about Capcom real quick. Let's talk about Capcom real quick.
All right,
we're good. Let's go to Nintendo.
Fucking dead, bro.
What? You want to talk about how Capcom is just still being so Capcom year after year after year, especially as fighting game people? You don't want to talk about Capcom?
Oh my god. Dude, there was a time that you open your Nintendo and the Capcom sound. I know everybody knows the sound. Yep. When you saw that little logo, you're like, "Oh, this is gonna be some,
it was gonna be some good shit."
It was gonna be some good shit. Now it's like, what the hell is going on over there?
To be fair, I wish Robbie was here because he'll definitely say like, Monster Hunter World is a great game to play. I personally can't play it because I get bodied by monsters, but I don't know what happened with Street Fighter 5. Personally, like, there's a lot of people that play it, and I respect them for it because that's what they choose to play. I personally don't like the game, and I don't like how they dumpstered Ryu Season 2, and then bother undumpstering him until, this season. Whereas, like, at this point, I'm like,
look, I'm just mad that Daigo doesn't play Ryu. Like, that fucks me
up. To be fair, Daigo also played Guile in ST.
that's okay, but you have to understand, if Daigo doesn't play his favorite character, what does that say?
They're both of them his favorite characters. It's just Ryu wasn't a good character.
I know. I understand what you're saying. But we all know Ryu is the basic pillar of what the game's supposed to be, right? He's a balanced character. If you can't, depends on the game. But ultimately, you got your zoning kit, you got your anti-air, you got your footsies, and if
hold on, pause here. Raina, doesn't this remind you of a conversation we had this morning with Holland?
Yeah. Basically, the moment he said, "I don't know why he doesn't play Ryu," it was like, "Oh, it's Shoto."
It's just seeing that. It just lets you know that fundamentally, whatever's going on with and players have been complaining about this forever since Street Fighter V came out.
Oh, Resident Evil 2 remake was actually good. Resident Evil 3 remake was.
You just don't feel like you have a lot of options in Street Fighter V. That's how I feel.
I don't know. I mean, I've always just stuck with Ken, and no matter how ugly he looks, man, he still plays okay. So
they play okay, but it's not how the characters play. It's more of how the system functions.
Yeah. Like no, I am not doubting that. Like for real.
Fuck me.
I don't know. It just feels weird. Whenever I go back to Street Fighter, like every time they come out with an extra patch or I go ahead, new character, right? I get back into the game. I'm thinking, okay, what did they fix? But what did they break? And first person I touch is Ken, and there hasn't been a lot of times where they really paid attention to him. So
look, as long as Ken can still follow the Ken chart, everything is okay, man.
No, you can't. The problem, right? See, the problem is you can't follow the Ken chart in Street Fighter V because they changed DPs in season 2.
I know it's not invincible anymore, but still, there's still some dummies that still fall for that. Dude, I saw it. It's always funny to see it. I'm like, oh, he's doing the Ken chart. Okay, I know.
It just feels weird, bro.
The V-trigger robbery is what made me turn the game off last night because I was playing the G. I was outplaying him. V-trigger happened. I lost my life.
That's the thing, man. Imagine you dominating the fight the entire time. It's like, oh, I got my meter now. Okay, tide reversal. And it's just like, when you see how easily you can get robbed, you're like, wow, this really just happened. All this work I did went down.
I almost broke my PS5 controller last night, dude. That's how bad I was.
I'm not going to touch Street Fighter V for probably another long time. So, beyond that, I was watching Monster Hunter and I thought, okay, I can give my cousin this or something. They talking about people dying in a kid's game, and I'm like, wait, what is this Monster Hunter? Why they call it Monsties? And it was a turn-based Monster Hunter game. So, yeah, that's why I want to move on. I'm done with Capcom right now.
We'll see. Capcom has these IPs that we're all a fan of: Street Fighter, Resident Evil. It's just they're slacking. It's kind of indicative of our age, I guess.
They came out with Resident Evil, which was their pinnacle right now.
Yeah,
and that's fine. I liked Village, but it's already out. You got DLC, okay?
Yeah,
but
they don't have. What I want from companies is really take a risk, and it feels like nobody wants to do that.
Right, but to be fair, right now, taking a risk and with the
I get it. The climate,
it's
the climate is not indicative of that. But again, you could just as easily say that prior to COVID, and they weren't fucking taking risks really back then either.
Well, no, they weren't.
So my thing is, it's you have to risk something. You have to. I'm sorry. You want to recreate a certain golden era of a plethora of awesome games, you got to take a risk. That means you're gonna have to fail. That has to happen.
Like, I
But
would
anyway,
prefer Mega Man Legends 3 to come out and be bad because they took a risk of trying to bring it back, than them just canceling it. That was just like, why? Especially when everybody brought 3DSs to play that game just for them to be like, our select group of people didn't like the game, so we're gonna cancel it. But anyways, Nintendo.
Just snipe this. Like go one after the other.
Holy, you know the first topic is something we're gonna talk about for a while.
I know, but like we're gonna be talking about that for a bit, and
So
it's a thing now.
Kazuya coming to Smash and the fan base being upset it wasn't insert character.
oh my god,
That was So
I thought it was cool.
If you follow Scrub Quotes on X on Twitter, it was filled with people being post screenshots of people being upset
This
that
is just
Kazuya came to Smash instead of characters like Sora or another Fire Emblem character that we didn't need.
Sora,
Goku.
Sora, Goku.
You don't know how? Do you know how long they've been asking for Sora and Shantae to be in Smash? Since Smash 4.
Wait. Shantae is in Smash as a spirit.
As a
Oh
spirit.
my god, bro! I want look. You. I don't know if people realize there was a time where you just didn't get cross-platform characters in Street Fighter. I mean, like in Smash Brothers, right?
Yeah.
You know there was no fucking Final Fantasy, there was no Persona, there was no Street Fighter and Smash Brothers, right?
Mhm.
And, like, why is this? I don't understand this entitled behavior of I want this.
It's weird because technically Smash is in the fighting genre, right? And then a fighting game character, which you would think would fit in the game because he's a fighting game character, and it's made by Namco.
No way.
It's being developed by Namco, so Namco, you know, they're gonna put one of their characters in there, so that was gonna happen nonetheless. But they're like, no, we don't want this in our fighting game. I'm like, you got a Tekken character from who's from a fighting game,
Dude,
and he's in a fighting game.
Smash Bros is in an amazing space where you're getting this wonderful collection of characters in one space, right? And people are complaining? Like, what?
It's because it's like it's not their favorite character. Like, people want, you know, the regular two, Sora and Goku, and I think Sakurai already shot those down. He said
No,
like
Sakurai he didn't shoot them down. Darth
Like,
Mickey
no,
shot that down.
he shot down Goku when he did an interview saying like, yeah, there's no anime characters coming in like that now.
Yeah.
He shot down Goku, and Darth Mickey shot down Sora.
Yeah, so you know those two ain't coming, and so people thought of reasonable things like they were like, oh, what about Rayman? I'm like, it could possible. Crash Bandicoot, oh yeah, it's possible. And then they started talking about like Master Chief. I'm like, I mean, it's
understand.
not impossible, but like,
I understand why they would have added Master Chief, and because we need more variation of characters of series that are not represented. But and given that Xbox and Nintendo has some sort of working relationship now,
I'm so confused. It's because it's like you're getting stuff that we never thought we would ever get in Smash. Because honestly, we thought Smash was gonna be Nintendo based characters, and you're
Joker, we got KOF, we got Dragon
you're getting
Quest, we got a whole bunch of stuff.
everybody forgetting.
Y'all just still out here being mad over
like,
characters
you
you don't have to buy.
You realize that Melee had nobody outside of shit or Brawl? Like, what is wrong with you?
All right,
bro?
so Brawl
I
had
love
Snake.
all of
Snake
the
Sonic.
Smash anger because I just do not like that community. So every time a new character is announced and the new character pisses them off and they're like, oh, this character needs to be banned for the next 3 months, I laugh hysterically.
I remember
and it brings
the
such
hero
good
God.
Warm feelings to my heart because every time they're the biggest ones to be like, you gotta adapt. But then the moment a new character comes out, because they're not used to having to deal with these characters because they grow up only playing Nintendo and they just want to play these Nintendo characters. Like, boom, now you get to see what Tekken's like. Get thrown off this cliff.
Hey,
Thwack. Did I almost say thwack?
Hey, audience, did I tell you guys that I bond over hate? I love hate.
Bro, I'm glad Raina said all that because,
especially as a TO, like it hit different because, as a TO, I want to make sure that all of the communities are taken care of. I definitely have favorites. Like, I'm not a parent when it comes to gaming communities. I have communities that I like more than other ones. And Smash is not even on the list because that is a community that does not know what they want. They are the hardest community to please, and I'm thankful for the TOs that run Smash because I refuse to touch it, and luckily they are a self-run, self-sufficient community, and all they want is space. You give them the space and the ability to play their game. They will go into their corner or wherever you put them and run their community by themselves. Because if I have to deal with them, they're not gonna like me.
Raina up here handing them like milk and
I got my own.
It says go over there.
So wait. I got my own personal story, and I think Fist of Sage was actually with me when we went. So we went to a Smash tournament, or it may have been actually my friend Art and a former friend of Rob. We went to a Smash tournament somewhere in Jersey, right? It was in a hotel. So, but Fist of Sage knows the story because he's heard this story. Because we were complaining about it the week we came back. So we go to this hotel. Mind you, the Smash tournament's in the back of the hotel, like around the corner. You can smell the stench of non-shower taking people from the front desk. I felt bad for the lady at the front desk who was stuck there for 8 hours having to smell that. So
all right,
we go. Hold on, wait.
Smash.
I need to get this out.
Smash community, fight back. Don't let them do this to you.
So we went into.
I really don't want this smoke because I got time and patience to go down my whole list. I literally have less than 10 people that I can say that I truly like from that community, and they're either commentators or their staff. Maybe one or two players.
I think.
But
wait. So my story gets better. So I go into the room. The smell is just atrocious, right? I look to my left. Mewtwo King. I had a picture on my Facebook. The picture's lost to time. He was sleeping under a table. Not sure what was going on with that. I was like, I didn't know it was Mewtwo King at the time. But I had to go, I think, play my first match, and we was waiting for the set to free up. There was a guy there that had brown marks on his shirt that smelled like piss. And I'm like, what is that?
I'm not gonna let you guys do this to Smash.
I swear it's
he looks at me, and I'm like, how? So as we're sitting there in the tournament trying to play or whatever, we all lose first round because they Smash players, all they do is play Smash, right? Halfway through the tournament, the TL gets on the table and gets on the mic and says, "Who needs deodorant? I will go to CVS and buy sticks of deodorant for y'all. This cannot be. The hotel staff is complaining that the odor is too strong, and we have people that are patrons of the hotel complaining about the smell."
That's bad.
At that point, we left. And when we left, our clothes stink. That's how bad it was smelling.
That's awful.
And mind you, I take 2 showers a day.
God damn, like really though, like. So, by the way, Mewtwo King does that all the time. He always sleeps somewhere randomly.
I'm not gonna let you guys bash the Smash community. All right, enough.
All right,
I mean, we really don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
We're not gonna go down that rabbit hole because now we're gonna talk about other games that got announced that Nintendo E3. So they announced a new Metroid called Metroid 5.
That's
Finally!
Wait,
That's
wait, it gets better. While Metroid Prime 4 is still MIA along with Bayonetta 3.
That's what I was gonna say. We got a Metroid, and I don't want to discount the 2D Metroids because they're classic staples of the genre. Right? People love some Super Metroid and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, everybody's been waiting for a Prime. Like, we want that 3D feel, we want that environment, we want those puzzles, and we want that GameCube type of thing that we had. And again, it's one of those things. It's like Nintendo is one of those companies that they have a lot of IPs, and a lot of them they don't use. So
yeah,
we wanna see a Metroid, dude. I'm waiting for an F-Zero. I love F-Zero and the GameCube.
Nintendo
F-Zero.
and Sega are culprits of having a lot of IPs and
They
never
just
fucking using them.
Oh my god, Sega has so many.
Skies of Arcadia. You could have released a remaster, and that will fly off the shelves.
Yeah,
Remaster of Legends, not the original, because the original had an encounter rate that didn't make any goddamn sense. Legends. They could release a remaster of that. Because their presentation a couple of days ago, they might as well just took the piss.
dude. You guys remember Donkey Kong? I think it was a 64.
Made by Rare. Yes.
Made by Rare. Dude, after that Donkey Kong, I think the only other Donkey Kong that I was aware of that had been made after that was the one with the bongos.
Donkey Kong, Mario
Jungle
vs. Donkey
Beat.
Kong, and Jungle Beat was the only.
Yeah.
We haven't actually gotten a real Donkey Kong game.
A real Donkey Kong game since 64.
I mean, I guess Returns and Tropical Freeze is.
Oh, I forgot about those.
non-existing.
Those were made by
Like-
the people who made who's making Metroid Prime 4. Because
Right.
Metroid
And
Prime 4 had to restart development from scratch because Nintendo was doing it by themselves, and then something happened, and it ended up getting restarted from the beginning with Retro Studios.
Yeah, like I know they dabbled in some of those IPs. Like I think the last Star Fox they made was what's it called?
Star Fox Zero.
Zero.
That was
yeah.
made by Platinum, and for some odd reason, they were made to use the Wii Pad, and that was the most atrocious game I've played in a long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't all that great, no.
It wasn't great. Like people tend to forget why we like Star Fox or why we like Metroid or why we like F-Zero. Like Nintendo always wants to mess around with the controls. I get that. But you can't ruin it. You can't push it too far where it's not an enjoyable experience. Like I said, like I know they made Metroid Project M or something like that. I forgot what it's called.
So you're right.
That was Team Ninja.
Yeah, so Project M was like it was faithful enough, but it's because they were limited to the controls, and I think they were put on the spot for that.
They were limited to controls and Adam.
And Adam.
And Adam.
And Adam.
Dude.
How are you a bounty hunter? You go on a ship, and because he was your old CO, commanding officer, you're gonna listen to and let him tell you when you can't use weapons.
You can't use the skills.
You have all these
we're gonna
weapons.
put you on lockdown. So all that crap that happened, right?
You know all the superpowers that normally you would lose when you crash land on a new planet. Yeah, it was me the entire time. I was me stopping you from using the power.
I was so mad. Like what made it even worse is that you know how she turned on the grappling hook? She was like, "Sorry, Adam. I'm gonna just say fuck you and just turn it on."
So
like, every time, it's not such a coincidence that every time I land on a new planet, my abilities vanish. Something's up with this. It was like the entire time it was my CEO.
Like, can you imagine?
he turns them off.
Adam's like in the ship, right? Adam's in the ship, and he's like, "Sorry, Samus, gotta give it up."
Yeah,
Hand it over.
So
she's like, the CEO's like, yeah, these the one level mobs will never stand a chance. Let's put him on equal footing and let me take off your abilities.
Samus over here saying, she was like, yes, Adam. Yes, Dad. I'm gonna hand it over. And she goes off on her new adventure. But like for real though, Metro Dread looks pretty good.
I don't want these. They go underutilized. There's too many IPs there. Nintendo has done an amazing job in having IPs they own. The shit that Xbox should be doing, and the shit that, in a better note, Sony does, right? But Nintendo, you're always gonna go to Nintendo. You know why? Because you're not gonna find another Zelda elsewhere. You're not gonna find another Mario elsewhere. You're not gonna find a Metroid, a Donkey Kong. You're not gonna find those elsewhere. And because they have that, you're willing to put up with whatever console they want to do. You want to do a handheld console? Fuck it. They want to do a Wiimote console? Fuck it. They want to do a tablet console? Fuck it. Like, because you're gonna go to the games, and that's why I keep emphasizing this. If you control the game, you control a portion of your market. It's the games that dictate where the consumer goes. You give them something awesome, they're gonna come to you.
Yeah, and like the next few games that we're about to say, the only there's two that's on the list here that they own, but like the next one, yeah,
this
I
one was
have
actually
not.
questionable. It was Fatal Frame Wii U. Fatal Frame, I think it was like something.
Like Blackwater.
Blackwater or something. It's coming to multiple consoles, and it's actually been a debate on Twitter yesterday of if Nintendo actually owned the IP or if Koei Tecmo owned the IP, and they started realizing that a lot of people didn't really understand how that publishing license can expire, and I'm just like, what? They're like, Nintendo owns the IP, so I don't know why it's coming to multiple consoles. I'm like, why do you care that the game's coming to multiple consoles? Why do you? Are you upset that other people get to play the game? Like what Phil Spencer said to Crap Gamer back in 2016, when he said he was going to cancel his Quantum Break pre-order because it was coming to PC. It's exactly that situation, and people don't understand that publishing licenses can expire.
Yeah.
Like Wonderful 101, Nintendo published that game, but something had happened or the publishing license had expired, and they were able to re-release the game on basically all the consoles.
So I think Nintendo published it, but what was it? Platinum Games owned it.
No, for Wonderful 101, yes.
Right, and because something broke down between, like, I guess payment, or like they still had the license, but they didn't have the money to remake it or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a GoFundMe, and they actually was able to revive it on multiple consoles.
Yeah.
However, yeah, but like it worked best on Nintendo. That was the thing about it. And I mean, honestly, I haven't played the game, but I heard it was all right. I heard it was fun, but it being on multiple consoles actually probably shows how much licenses are important when it comes to Nintendo.
Yeah.
And so it's a lesson there with like Fatal Frame.
Next game we got Shin Megami Tensei 5 RPG series, known for being hard. Like Shin Megami Tensei 4, if you weren't good, you die in the first dungeon. People
Automatic buy.
Yeah, it's automatic buy, but
Right.
It's the same people who made Persona, and Persona is actually the easier series to play.
Yes, that's correct. Like SMT, like if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna die in the first dungeon.
I'm never playing it. I'm interested. I'm very interested.
With that, someone got blown up yesterday because he said it looked like a PS2 game. I forgot what happened. What exactly happened? But anyways, Way Forward is working on Advance Wars 1 and 2 remakes, and people are upset that it's $60, but they don't realize that Nintendo likes to re-release games for $60.
Yeah, womp womp. Sorry.
We get a new WarioWare game, and then finally we got to see some gameplay. Well, I guess I don't really see his gameplay. It's more so like a cinematic trailer for Breath of the Wild 2.
Kind of gameplay because they showed us a little bit of.
It's more like scenery, like but at the very least, you get a general sense of what how it's supposed to function, if that makes sense.
I'm saying they need to just take the time that they need for Breath of the Wild 2 because they know that with the rabid Nintendo fans out there,
they're trying to cash in on that. By the way,
I know. Like by the time it does come out, they're probably gonna have like the Switch Pro, and it's like you can get this bundle.
They always do
that's something I want to point out because they showed off No More Heroes 3, a lot of gameplay of it, and you can tell that this game is pushing the Switch to its absolute limit. Because there's a lot of stuff on that was shown yesterday that screams Switch Pro needs to happen at some point.
Yeah, it kind of does. It really does.
It needs to happen.
I mean, yeah, there's really no way you can like upgrade like the now Switch with any more programming. It's the hardware, so they have to do it.
I think they have to release. I think what people were saying that they're going to release a more powerful dock that will, because like the dock allows higher resolutions.
Yeah, so, but the dock is literally plastic, so
there's a thing in it, but it gives the Switch more power.
Right.
So what they need to do is probably release a bigger a dock that was probably going to happen instead of making people buy a new Switch. We're just going to buy a upgraded dock.
Honestly, I think they should have done that first.
Because
a more powerful dock would, like at least for people in the West, give them less of a reason to say like, "Hey, Nintendo, so your graphics is kind of shitty in some games." Like, some games are just not working just as well as other games, like on the PlayStation 3 or 4. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be. I don't know if Switch is in the era of PlayStation 5, right? Like they're not.
No, Switch is in between, where Switch is technically more powerful than the Xbox One original, the original Xbox One.
Okay.
In some ways, but people are saying that graphically the Wii U is stronger than the Switch.
Okay.
But the processing power is stronger than the Wii U. So it's because remember they were compensate. They were trying to make it so you can go both play on your TV and take it on the go. So it knocked out both a home console and a handheld console into one.
Gotcha. All right.
So we got 3 more questions to wrap up today's podcast. Who do y'all? So we're just gonna do, I guess, a rapid fire question. Who do y'all think will win E3 this year?
Probably Nintendo for me.
Redfall.
That's not a console. That's not a console.
I said who won 3 for me, and
Sync.
But yeah, Nintendo just off of the games and the potential of certain things. The other 2 consoles, yeah, they got some decent showings, but I need concrete shit.
Elden Ring won the whole thing. That's all that's needed. Elden Ring.
See, you understand.
Who out there with the
Understand. So I would like to amend my answer and say PC. Now that I am part of the master race, you win me all. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm gonna say the Game Awards probably won if it because it had Elden Ring in it. But Nintendo was a close second, only because at least I can sit through that and not be bored out of my mind just every which of the way. So
my answer would be, technically, in my opinion, I liked it the Xbox show the most because Xbox showed games I wanted to play, and it's all coming to Game Pass. I don't have to buy the game. I can just use my Microsoft points that I use by spamming Bing and get Game Pass for free and enjoy games that way. And I don't have to buy Forza, and I don't have to. And Halo's free to play because there's more games I want to play. But if we're talking realistically, Nintendo, because Nintendo released games that not only did they show games that were coming out this year that people can get this year and don't have to think about saying, oh, what's coming. Like, Microsoft showed off some games, but most of them weren't coming this year. Nintendo showed off a lot of games that are not only coming this year, but games that were in the future and things we didn't even know about. And they also showed off Breath of the Wild, which is something
Which
that they
is
should have
a big seller, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big. That's a W. Yeah.
So, all right. With that being said, we're just gonna skip the last 3 questions because those can go into like a half-hour conversation in itself. So we're just gonna skip those entirely. So let's wrap it up with the closing thoughts.
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
Definitely the game that I want and that I'm most curious about is Elden Ring. I just want to see how it handles, see how it plays. The cinematic is great. The mythos and the world and the enemies look awesome. But I got to get my hands on it. I want to see how it plays. Dark Souls Soul-ish. So I'm looking forward to it. I need some co-op in that too, man. Hopefully that's going to be a thing. But yeah, I'm right there with you, Sync. Definitely Elden Ring for sure.
Okay. And
I'll say that overall there were definitely some things that I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to buy it. But as an E3 with the pandemic in mind, it was a little underwhelming. But I'm going to give it a pass because of the pandemic, and I can't wait to be able to go to E3 next year because they already announced it's going to be in LA for 2022. So I'm okay with being underwhelmed because it's not like the full week where you're able to like see the videos of like the exhibitions as well. So, I'll give them that. There were some really good things that were worth saying, but there was also a lot of talking from people I don't care to listen to. So overall, E3 was kind of mid to me this year, but it gets a pass.
Okay. So with
Yeah.
that, that's the end of this episode of the podcast. Next week we are going to be talking about World of Warcraft versus Final Fantasy 14. Given of that's a whole topic in itself.
I have stories
Our
and
friend
comments.
and our fourth man, Grim, will be with us, hopefully, given work obligations. Well, basically, it'll be based off of people's current experience with WoW and Final Fantasy 14, how they feel the game is going, in what direction. And we have Sync, who is start transitioning towards World of Warcraft while still playing Final Fantasy 14 and his experiences with that. And also talking about other MMOs and what other MMOs people have been playing. So Hero can rip me apart next week about the Genesis.
Oh,
So
I'm gonna ram him.
So with that being said, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
All right, put the outro music, man.
Yeah, I got outro music, yo.
Play the outro music. All right, bring the soundboard into.
This man wants this official.
Oh my god.
A little outro. Give me a little outro music.